Hey guys, today is Wednesday, January 6th, 2021, and today we are going to be completely asynchronous. So this video is with directions, and if you choose, there is a textbook reading at the end. So just follow along for today's directions to get ready for class tomorrow. Okay, I have already been in our Canvas course for the day, and I have clicked the Enter Here button, which of course takes us to our daily module. So today is, like I just said, 1-6. So January 6th, Geography of Ancient China is the assignment for today. So we're going to go ahead and click into this. This is an assignment that you can choose to do with a partner or a small group if you are able to arrange a Google Meet or something like that. We are not having a live session today, so there will be no Zoom meeting for class. So we're doing Geography of Ancient China today. Yesterday we did an overview of what ancient China looks like, some of their stuff that is in there, and today we're just going to look at what their geography was and how it impacted their development as a civilization. This is our last river valley civilization. So we have to assume that because it's a river valley civilization, that it grew up on a river. So everything that we have learned about silt and flooding applies to this civilization. So here I am in the assignment for the day. Okay, and we're going to open up a few different things. Sorry about that. We're going to open up the note-taking document from direction 1 by clicking what's in purple. This is going to automatically force you to make a copy of this document. So go ahead and make your copy. Once you do that, it will pull it up, and we are going to change its location for us after you change your name. So instead of having up top on the left, instead of having it say copy, you need to change it to have your first and last name, and then keep the rest of it. We're then also going to drop it into our India and China folder by clicking this folder button. Okay, and you're going to find your social studies folder within your drive, which mine is labeled 2021 social studies. You're going to click the arrow, and then we're going to find Unit 3 India and China, and that's where we are going to put it. So once we have that open, we can go ahead and go back to our directions on Canvas. So we already did the forcing of a copy, we've already changed our name, and we've already dropped it into our folder. So for today's assignment, you're going to use the textbook chapter that is also linked in purple. So I'm going to click this. This is exactly like all of our other note-taking. Okay, this is interesting. It takes just a minute for it to load because this is how Canvas is now structuring these pages. So this is going to open up our Ancient China chapter. These notes are exactly the same as we have done notes in the past. So according to the directions, we are going to be reading PDF pages 5 through 11, which is also textbook pages 184 through 191. So if we go to the book on Canvas, we can change the PDF page up here on the top. So I'm going to change that to say 5. Oh, not 15. Sorry, guys. 5. 5. There we go. Okay. And once it loads, it's going to take a second. There we go. You can tell that we are in Geography and Early China. Okay. So we're going to be reading textbook pages 5 through 11. Like I said, these notes are structured exactly the same as all of our other notes that we have taken in this format. So if you look at your note-taking sheet, we see, obviously, the directions. There are 3 different columns. There's the far left column, which has our red titles. There's the middle column, which has our blue subtitles. And then there is the far right column, which has our bullet points. Okay, the far left column with the red subheading matches the red headings in the book. So you would read where it says, and the number of bullet points that are in the box on the right is how many facts you need to put for that section. Could you do more? Of course, but do not do less. Okay. The blue in the middle, these are blue subheadings, match the blue subheadings in the book. Again, you would read what it says, and the number of bullet points tells you how many facts you need to put as you're reading to take notes. Okay. There are also some maps and charts for you to read in this section, so make sure that you are following along with the subheadings, reading and taking the notes. Okay. So you will have all of class to do this assignment total. Okay. Once you are completed, guys, make sure that it is into your social studies folder for India and China, because in tomorrow's assignment, there's going to be questions regarding this reading that you can use your notes to answer, and that will be taken for a grade. So that's how I'm holding you accountable for doing this reading, is that you've got these questions to do tomorrow that will be for a grade, and of course you can use your notes. That's it for my directions. If you are interested in doing a public read or a read aloud with me, you can go ahead and stay on the video. Otherwise, you are free to go. Just make sure that you are getting this done. It is not something you are turning in, and you are able to work with other people if you so choose. Have a great day. If you have stayed on the video, this is the portion where we can read the text together. So if you wish to read along, go ahead and follow along, and I will be reading the text to you. So we are in geography and early China. China's physical geography. Geography played a major role in the development of Chinese civilization. China has many different geographical features. Some features separated groups of people within China. Others separated China from the rest of the world. China covers an area of nearly 4 million square miles, about the same size as the United States. One of the physical barriers that separates China from its neighbors is a harsh desert, the Gobi. It spreads over much of China's north. East of the Gobi are low-lying plains. These plains, which cover most of eastern China, form one of the world's largest farming regions. The Pacific Ocean forms the country's eastern boundary. More than 2,000 miles to the west, rugged mountains make up the western frontier. In the southwest, the Plateau of Tibet has several mountain peaks that reach more than 26,000 feet. The southern edge of the Tibetan Plateau is bordered by the Himalayan mountains, which are home to most of the highest mountain peaks in the world. From the plateau, smaller mountain ranges spread eastward. The most important of these ranges is the Qinling Shanди. It separates northern China from southern China. Ancient people lacked the early transportation routes of today. Mountains, deserts, and oceans served as strong barriers to travel. Because of these features, ancient China remained isolated from much of the outside world. Geographical challenges also made it difficult for China's rulers to maintain control over their subjects. Trade, travel, and communication were all challenges during China's early history. You can now pause the video to answer and look at the questions about China's physical map on your notes. Weather and temperature patterns vary widely across China. In the northeast, the climate is cold and dry. Winter temperatures drop well below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Rivers there are frozen for more than half the year. In the northwest, the deserts are very dry, but on the eastern plains of China, heavy rains fall. The tropical southeast is the wettest region. Monsoons can bring 250 inches of rain each year. That's enough water to cover a 2-story house. In ancient times, weather variations were a serious concern. Archaeological evidence suggests that parts of China experienced a cooler and drier climate than usual in about 1000 BC. These changes caused droughts as rivers froze and water sources dried up. Two great rivers flow from west to east in China. The Huanghe, or Yellow River, stretches for nearly 3,000 miles across northern China. The river often floods, and the floods leave behind layers of silt on the surrounding countryside. Because these floods can be very destructive, the river is sometimes called China's sorrow. Over the years, millions of people have died in Huanghe floods. Flooding can also ruin crops and contribute to famines. To the south, the Changjiang or Yangtze River cuts through central China. It flows from the mountains of Tibet to the Pacific Ocean. The Changyang is the longest river in Asia. In early China, the two rivers helped link people in the eastern part of the country with those in the west. At the same time, the mountains between the rivers limited commerce. Like other ancient peoples that you have studied, people in China first settled along rivers. There, they farmed and built villages. Eventually, complex civilizations with large populations developed. Farming in China started along the Huanghe and Changjiang. The river's floods deposited fertile silt. These silt deposits made the land ideal for growing crops. As early as 7000 BC, farmers grew rice in the middle of the Changjiang Valley. North along the Huanghe, the land was better for growing cereals such as millet and wheat. Along with farming, the early Chinese people varied their diets in other ways. They fished and hunted with bows and arrows. They also domesticated animals such as pigs and sheep. With more sources of food, the population grew. More people needed even greater resources. Farmers had to develop better tools and ways of farming to keep up with the increased demand. Archaeologists have found remains of early Chinese villages. The villages were typically made up of a cluster of buildings surrounded by a deep moat. Some buildings were above ground and circular, with cone-shaped roofs. Others were partly underground and may have had straw-covered roofs, supported by columns, beams, and rafters. The walls were made of sticks and twigs held together by clay. One village site near the Huanghe had more than 40 houses. The site also included animal pens, storage pits, and a cemetery. Some of the villages along the Huanghe grew into large towns. Walls surrounded these towns to defend them against floods and hostile neighbors. In towns, the Chinese left many artifacts, such as arrowheads, fish hooks, tools, pottery, or pieces of cloth. Separate cultures developed in southern and northeastern China. These included the Sanxingdui and Hongshan peoples. Little is known about them, however. As the major cultures along the Huanghe and Changjiang grew, they absorbed other cultures. Over time, Chinese culture became more advanced. After 3000 BC, people used potter's wheels to make types of pottery. These people also learned to dig water wells. As populations grew, villages spread over larger areas in both northern and southeastern China. Burial sites have provided information about the culture of this period. Like the Egyptians, the early Chinese filled their tombs with objects. Some tombs included containers of food, suggesting a belief in an afterlife. Some graves contained many more items than others. These differences show that a social order had developed. Often, the graves of rich people held beautiful jewelry and other objects made from jade, a hard gemstone. Societies along the Huanghe grew and became more complex. They eventually formed the first Chinese civilization. According to ancient stories, a series of kings ruled over China around 2200 BC. Yu the Great is said to have founded the Xia dynasty. Writers told of terrible floods during Yu's lifetime. They said that Yu dug channels to drain the water to the ocean. This labor took him more than 10 years and is said to have created the major waterways of northern China. At this point, you can pause the video to answer the question about the Shang dynasty map. Archaeologists have not yet found evidence that the tales about the Xia are true. However, the stories of Xia rulers were important to the ancient Chinese because they told of kings who helped people solve problems by working together. The stories also explained the rivers and other aspects of geography that had such an impact on people's lives. The first dynasty, for which we have clear evidence in the Shang, is the Shang, which was firmly established by the 1500s BC. Strongest in the Huanghe Valley, the Shang ruled a broad area of northern China. Shang rulers moved their capital several times, probably to avoid floods or attack by enemies. The king was at the center of Shang political and religious life. Nobles served the king as advisors and helped him rule. Less important officials were also nobles. They performed specific governmental and religious duties. The social order became more organized under the Shang. The royal family and the nobles were at the highest level. Nobles owned much land, and they passed on their power to their sons. Warrior leaders from the far regions of the empire also ranked high in society. Most people in the ruling classes lived in large homes and cities. Artisans settled outside the city walls. They lived in groups based on what they made for a living. Some artisans made weapons. Other artisans made pottery, tools, or clothing. Artisans were at a middle level of importance in Shang society. Farmers ranked below artisans in the social order. They worked long hours and had little money. Taxes claimed much of what they earned. Slaves also filled society's lowest rank, were an important source of labor during the Shang period. Kinship ties were highly important in every level of society. The Shang greatly respected the relationship between one generation and the next. They also worshipped their ancestors. The king was viewed as a father figure, so past kings were also worshipped. China's natural surroundings were another important part of religious beliefs and ceremonies. The rivers and mountains were thought to have certain powers. The Shang prayed to these powers, gave offerings of grain and millet, wine, and made sacrifices. The Shang made many advances. Some historians believe they may have used cowrie shells as a form of common currency. The Shang also helped develop China's first writing system. The system used more than 2,000 symbols to express words or ideas. Although the system has gone through changes over the years, the Chinese symbols used today are based on those of the Shang period. The development of writing allowed the Shang to leave a cultural and religious record of life during the dynasty. Shang writing has been found on thousands of cattle bones and turtle shells. Shang writing has been found on thousands of cattle bones and turtle shells. Priests carved questions about the future on bones or shells, which were then heated, causing them to crack. The priests believed they could read these cracks to predict the future. The bones were called oracle bones because an oracle is a prediction. The oracle bones became part of a royal collection belonging to the Shang king. Oracle bones were part of the system of tribute payments on which the Shang economy was based. Tribute is money or goods that a subject or another country is required to pay to a ruler. In the Shang system, the most valuable tribute payments were the turtle shells and cattle bones that became oracle bones. Tribute could also be in the form of humans, usually prisoners, for religious sacrifices. Or subjects might send animals like horses to the king to honor him. Some historians believe that the Shang may also have exchanged cowrie shells as a form of common currency. Although no literature exists today from the Shang, ceremonial inscriptions have been found. This writing used pictographs and symbols to pass down religious ideas from one generation to the next. In addition to writing, the Shang also had other achievements. Artisans made beautiful bronze containers for cooking and religious ceremonies. They also made axes, knives, and ornaments from jade. The military developed war chariots, powerful bows, and bronze body armor. Shang astrologers also made an important contribution, a calendar system. This system had a 360-day year with 12 months of 30 days each. Like other ancient calendars, such as that of India, the Shang calendar was based on the cycles of the sun and moon. Unlike other early calendars, however, the Chinese calendar used a 60-year cycle. As in other ancient civilizations, warfare with neighboring territories was common during the Shang era. For many years, the Zhou lived west of Shang territory. At times, relations were peaceful, but war occasionally broke out between the two states. Zhao rulers eventually defeated the Shang and seized their territory.